Hello everyone, welcome back to another video recorded episode of Unbalanced with me, Cerys Davage. How are we all doing? Today I've got another interview episode for you guys and I'm really excited about this one. He's been on a bit of a roll, he's been on other podcasts this week as well, he's in demand. But please welcome BlindTobes, aka Toby Addison. Hello.
Hi, how are we?
I'm good, thank you. I'm excited to get this podcast finally done. We've been chatting about this for a while, so
It's mainly my fault. This has been in the pipeline, I feel like, for probably 5 months.
I know, it's crazy.
Found an hour to slot in.
I know, summer is crazy anyway, but we've both got quite booked up schedules, it sounds.
We do. I mean, I've got to do this and then pop off to London afterwards, so I won't be back until 8 o'clock this evening doing bits. But
Wow,
I'm happy
that is a long day.
This is one of the podcasts that I've been excited to do for a while now.
That's very exciting. Well, thank you very much. So introduce yourself to us. Where are you from and what do you do?
So my name's Toby. I'm a blind content creator, and I guess most importantly, a disability advocate. I'm originally from London, Hertfordshire area, but I live on the south coast of England now. And yeah, I'm also a blind footballer, so got fingers in a lot of pies and do a lot of things, but it mainly revolves around disability and spreading awareness.
Which is great because I'm sure we have a lot of topics we can cover in this episode, which is great. Could you give us a summary of how you became blind?
Yeah, so I've always been visually impaired. I was diagnosed with a condition called retinitis pigmentosa when I was 2. And my parents didn't know when I was born that I had a visual impairment, but there were some telltale signs, like not necessarily picking up when people have walked in the room or walking into things that I really shouldn't be walking into. I think my parents thought I was just an idiot. Actually, we went to my GP and then later the opticians, and they informed us that I had a condition that was going to deteriorate over time. Unfortunately, my condition is really, really aggressive compared to what it would normally be like. So people with RP wouldn't actually know they're losing their vision until they're potentially in their 30s, 40s. Mine was super aggressive and I lost all of my usable vision by the time I was 16.
Wow. How was that? Because obviously being a teenager, you're already going through so many changes. I can't imagine throwing that into the mix.
Yeah, I think this is a big point of disability that I like to try and get people to understand is, we've got a disability and that can be challenging regardless of your situation. But we are normal people too, have normal lives, normal struggles. If most of us think back to our teenage years, a lot of the time they're not very smooth, they're quite rocky. So if you chuck in a disability and quite a severe disability on top of that as well, my growing up period from probably primary school, end of primary school up to kind of sixth form time was absolutely horrendous.
Wow, that is crazy. I mean, it kind of reminds me of when I first started getting symptoms. I was about 12, but going into high school, it's difficult enough to understand your own condition, let alone, have your friends understand. Did you have that support system around you when you were going through those changes?
I had a good friendship group when I still had a decent amount of vision. Like I could do everything that your average kid would do. So I was like playing football and, just messing about with mates and stuff. And then my sight did start to go and they all took a bit of a step back because disability and I don't know if it still is really in schools, but it wasn't spoken about back then. And kids didn't know how to respond to someone who was going through like quite a traumatic period in their life. So I lost quite a lot of my friends. I was quite isolated and I was just trying my best to fit in. As a result of that, I was a bit ashamed of my disability and, I did everything in my power to act like I could see. So I should have started using my cane, for example, when I was about 13, 14. I didn't use it until I lost all my usable vision at 16 because I was so desperate to not look or be blind.
Yeah. Oh, there's such a misconception about being disabled and such a negative stereotype around it. And I can definitely relate with a wheelchair, like I've been putting off using one for so long, but it is actually there not only to help you, but it's also a visual aid for other people to just know that you've got something going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, that's the biggest thing, I mean, in terms of canes, you can have a slightly, obviously the stereotypical one is you've got the big stick with the ball on the end, which is what people with very, very low vision use to navigate. But someone who's visually impaired could use a symbol cane, which doesn't do anything like functionally for the person, but it is what it says on the tin. It's a symbol and it lets people know. But you still get so hesitant because of well, like you said, the stereotypes and the attitudes surrounding disability. It's almost a big kind of label on yourself saying, yep, I'm incompetent, I'm less than you, judge me. Well, that's not what it should be, but that's definitely what it feels like.
Oh, definitely. Like as soon as you've got that cane or, any kind of mobility aid, you're immediately sending out signals to other people like, please pity me, please, think of me as my disability and not who I actually am.
Yeah.
So that's quite a tough balance sometimes.
It's like you probably resonate with it because I'm sure you've used other like mobility aids other than a wheelchair, like crutches and sticks and stuff.
I know a lot of people with the same condition as me do use crutches. I personally don't see them working for me just because it affects my arms as well. So I'm sure putting all the pressure on my arms probably won't be that good for it. But I remember, it started off just going to airports and I would have to use an airport wheelchair just to get around because airports are huge anyway. And if I stood out of the wheelchair then to walk through security or whatever, people around me would stare at me as if a miracle has just happened. So that's quite a common thing, is people not knowing that wheelchairs are actually there just to give you a bit of help. It's not there because you physically cannot walk.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because most wheelchair users can walk, but you still get, you still feel so self-conscious when you use it because people's reactions. Even if I cross my legs when I'm in a wheelchair, people are like looking at me funny, like, wait, her legs actually work? That's weird.
Do you find it hard with like going from having no mobility aid to what people would see as like the biggest mobility aid in a wheelchair, like with no middle ground almost?
Yeah, oh, definitely. I mean, it's either struggle on your own or use a wheelchair. I do use kind of my boyfriend's arm to help me sometimes, and that could be seen as we're just linking arms, but it actually really helps me. But it is such a strange transition going from looking fully able to looking completely disabled. There's like no in between, and it's still a balance I'm trying to adjust to. But I feel like a lot of my problems are actually solved in a wheelchair, strangely enough, because when I walk, I've got a bit of a waddle. I get people coming up to me all the time, asking, why do I park in the blue badge parking? Why do I walk funny? Have I broken my leg? Have I twisted my ankle? Just a lot of things like that, which, those questions would not be asked if I had a wheelchair. Do you find that you get a lot of comments like that without using a stick, or just you by yourself?
I think because and there isn't a way of looking blind, but in the way that society sees blindness, I don't look blind at all. My eyes haven't changed in appearance. Stereotypically, I try to look after myself, which isn't what people see a blind person as. I do my hair and try and keep myself well groomed. So people don't realise, and that could be an issue in itself because they don't actually understand the severity. When I say I can't see, they probably presume that I'm, visually impaired, partially sighted, not blind. And to be honest, I kind of resonate with what you said there about using your wheelchair kind of solved a few issues. For me, when I started to use my cane, like socially, it made my life so much easier.
Really?
Yeah.
Can you explain a bit more about that?
I think it's because once I got over the actual fear of using it, because I didn't want to use it at all, like I said, I really, really didn't want to use it. When I did start to use it, it was almost like a day or two of feeling really self-conscious, and then everything just kind of slotted into place, and it made me like kind of actually have a way to make people aware of how blind I actually was. And it just makes it easier in terms of when you're out in public, like shop assistants, when they see the cane bear, they can understand that you can't see, but if you explain you're visually impaired, it's almost like they don't believe you. Train staff, like any assistance I need anywhere, like it's just easier to explain when you've got that kind of visual representation and that stereotypical look of there's clearly a disability there. But when I didn't have anything, because I could navigate without a cane for a while but still kind of struggle, trying to explain what you can and can't do is really difficult.
Oh, definitely. It's so strange that we have such different disabilities, but we can relate on so much. And what you just said about transport, If I take the train in a wheelchair, it's like everyone notices that I'm in a wheelchair. Everyone does as much as they can. The train operators get the ramp out to help me onto the train. But if I don't have my wheelchair on me, I just look like a regular young fit girl that literally I can't lift myself onto the train. I need people to help me. I need people to maybe carry my bag if I'm alone. And it took a while to be a self-advocate in that way, to just be really open and be open to asking other people for help. And then that took a while. But eventually, people start helping me, but they still don't really understand why, because again, I look completely fine.
That's incredibly problematic when you think about it, because like you're missing the gap where the majority of disabled people lie. Like
Right.
I'm, in terms of blindness, I'm at the very near the very, very end of the spectrum. But 90% of the people fall in the bracket where they might not use a cane or a guide dog. I don't know what it's like with wheelchair using ambulatory. That's a really hard word to say. Ambulatory.
Ambulatory,
Wheelchair.
yeah.
Like a lot of ambulatory wheelchairs. Oh my god, how do you say that so clearly? I'm not going to say it again. Obviously,
we know what you're saying, yeah.
essentially, there's like a large percentage of the time where you can and will be walking, and if you're not getting that support that you'd get because you're not in a wheelchair, that's really, really bad, really problematic.
It's crazy. It's kind of forcing people that maybe don't need a wheelchair or any kind of mobility aid or visual aid to get them, just so they can get the help that they need in society, which is, it's just crazy because everyone's got, like little things going on. But my mentality now, having this condition, is always assuming that other people do need help, instead of just assuming that everyone's fine, everyone's independent, they could do what they want. There are so many people that actually do need a hand up a step, or whatever it is. And I don't know about you, but I've had a common misconception, especially out at night, that I'm just really drunk. Have you had that?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the time I am, but
Good
yeah,
point, yeah.
obviously, like, sometimes I might stumble about or trip up a curb, or if my eyes do move around sometimes a bit erratically, people are like, is he drunk? What's going on? Especially if my cane's folded up, for example, and not out.
Yeah.
Yeah, people will. I mean, to be fair, being disabled, you get all sorts anyway, so that's probably the least concerning one I get. But yeah,
Yeah, you do.
we love to, assume there's something wrong with you, but they don't automatically go to you having a disability.
Do you like to prove them wrong? Like if someone, tells you off for parking in a disabled spot and then you just whip out your cane and you're like, haha.
I used to. I used to really do it. I had a bit of a chip on my shoulder with that, and now I'm so used to it now that I almost don't care. It's like I'll just walk away with my cane and get it out and just not say anything to them. It's also like that's probably proving a point in itself. But
Oh, yeah.
there's a part of me that's like I can't be bothered to interact.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I'm getting kind of numb to it now. Like, I just put on a face and I'm like, no, I have a disability. And usually that is enough to guilt trip them on, and for them to realize, oh, I shouldn't have said that, Like, even you just walking away and, maybe they'll figure it out later. Or maybe they'll have another encounter with someone else and they'll get caught out.
I struggle with this one because inherently they're doing a moral thing in their own head, at least. Their intention is to make sure that the space is clear for someone with an actual disability. And obviously they've looked at myself or you and thought, well, disability, I'm going to approach you. But actually it's incredibly damaging because the awareness on invisible disabilities just isn't there.
No.
And that's, an indictment probably of where we are with educating people on disability. So I always struggle because, their intention's good, but the way they approach it is just horrendous.
Yeah, and sometimes I see cars parked in disabled badges and maybe they haven't bought out their blue badge yet, and I'm thinking they should not be parked there. But then I catch myself out, like, I should not be thinking that way, because this is exactly the mentality that people have when they actually approach them.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the thing, exactly what you said. There's not enough education on invisible disabilities, and if there was, people would be more reluctant to go up to people and be bold and
It's
assume
just when
things.
it's just decision making, isn't it? You might initially
Yeah.
think, oh, they don't look disabled, and then in the back of your mind, oh, they might have an invisible disability or a cognitive impairment that we can't see but impacts them massively. And who am I to say who deserves a blue badge and who doesn't? But we're nowhere
Yeah.
near that at the minute.
No, hopefully one day, because life will just be so much easier then. But there's a long way to go. But I am seeing some changes. Like, I had a massive problem going into disabled toilets, and people would, tell me that the normal toilets are downstairs, and I'm like, well, I'll tell you for what. um, but now I see on a lot of disabled toilet doors, there are signs that say not every disability is visible, which
Okay.
just makes me feel so much better going into them. Like, yes, I am one of those people.
And they're not even like, yeah, they're called disabled toilets, but people without disabilities can use them if they
Mm,
feel more comfortable doing so. Whether that's something to do with, I don't know, like part of transitioning with gender, for example, or a pregnant mum with a child might feel more. Do you know what I mean? Like,
mm,
I think people get it in their head that it has to be a wheelchair user or, has to be someone with a guide dog going in there. It's maybe the name needs to change. I don't know, but then
yeah,
I don't know
that's
where I
true.
stand.
It kind of, fits the customers into like a label, into a box.
Exactly.
Yeah, interesting. But when you said quite a while back now that schools just weren't educated on disabilities, I completely agree with you on that one. Like, where was the education when we were in school? I just felt so isolated because I didn't feel like anyone understood me or wanted to understand me because no one was talking about anything like that.
Mm.
Um, so I want to know, what was it like transitioning from after school? Like, what did you do after there? And I know you said you started to use your cane a bit more. What was that like?
Yeah, so after school, things got a lot better for me when I started using my cane. I'd gotten into this point with like my friends that I'd lost where I was like, okay, I don't care now. I'd rather just be by myself anyway. And I started doing a lot of work with the kids on SEN registers at school and stuff while I was there. So that kind of filled my time socially because I was, helping out other kids and stuff. But I think I've blocked out a lot of my time at school. I really only kind of remember what my mindset was like when I left school and went to uni, to be honest.
Wow, really? Is it just because of the negative impact school had on you?
Yeah, I didn't think I realised until recently, like how much of a negative impact my experience at school did actually have on me. And then I think when I went to uni, I realised actually like how it should be. So yeah, it's a weird one. Like I don't think about my time at school or anything. Like it's not something I'd say was traumatic and keeps me awake at night, but it does show how hard it can be, especially for someone with a disability that isn't just linear. Like mine was changing, so having to explain
Yeah.
that all the time. And yeah, I can't imagine how many people are actually in my position as well.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, also you're adjusting to the changes as well. But I guess now you're on a lot of podcasts, so you're forced to kind of reflect on your whole life a lot, which is
Oh,
maybe
honestly,
why
I've
you're.
learned a lot about myself since doing media because obviously my content is surrounded by me talking about blindness and disability. I used to joke about it and banter about being blind and stuff, but I never really got asked questions in detail and had to answer from my own experiences and reflect on everything. Honestly, the amount of things like I'm finding out myself mentally is crazy.
It's like therapy for you,
It is,
basically.
yeah.
I find my podcast like a vocal journal, and I do find it like therapy sometimes because if there's a problem or like a topic I really want to talk about, like I think about my own experiences a lot, and I'm like, wow, I never actually realized how bad that was or how much of an impact that had on me.
Yeah, yeah, but the hard thing though is when you're trying to educate people is having to explain that my experiences are my experiences and they don't apply to every blind person. What I tell you about blindness isn't the same for every single blind person on the planet. And that's quite hard because I think people will see yourself and myself as a role model and want to learn from us, but actually you're just learning it about us and you can apply what you learn to disability, but it's not gospel, and that's quite a hard thing sometimes.
Yeah. So obviously by now, we know that you do a lot of content creation. You've got over 300,000 followers on TikTok, which
Yes.
is kind of crazy. When did you start that, and why did you feel like you wanted to?
So I started about 2.5 years ago now. I was still in uni when I started. Um, I never really wanted to. It's not like I just picked up a phone one day. I was like, yeah, let's give it a go. There was some clips that went viral of me at the Russell Howard show, actually. And there was a crowd interaction with me and my cane, and it went viral. And there were so many like weird and questionable comments in the comment section of these videos. Talk about blindness and saying, "Oh, he doesn't look blind. He's clearly not blind." And why does he have sunglasses and all of this kind of stuff. And I was like, I got a bit wound up by it because obviously at that point I wasn't used to having anyone comment on anything I did.
Mm.
So I just made a video randomly off the cuff, replying to these comments, and it went viral again. And from that point, I was like, all right, well, naturally we're going to keep making content, and more questions kept pouring in. And so yeah, no, never stopped. But I was doing a degree in counselling psychology, and I was looking at jobs in the NHS, and I was writing my dissertation, and all of a sudden I've got 30,000 followers in a few days and got a management team within a week or two. And it was like, oh God, what am I actually doing now?
Wow. So your life basically changed in a week.
Oh my God, yeah, literally, it was ridiculous. I can't tell you how much growth there was. Like, I could refresh my page and it would have gone up like 200 followers, like in 3 seconds. It was
Whoa.
ridiculous. Like, I was looking at my views on my page, and like every hour it was just going up 200, 300,000 like views on each video. And like I hit 100K within like 5 weeks. Um,
Wow.
and then, yeah, at that point, I had my management team. Within the first day of having my management team, I got a Gymshark contract. And I was like, what is happening here?
What? That
I
is crazy. Wow.
know. And then I never
That is
stopped.
mad.
And yeah, it will evolve and change, but hopefully the whole premise of it never stops. But I would never, ever, ever thought that I'd be doing what I was doing. I never planned to do it.
Wow. That is insane. And you know what? I feel like so proud of you because there are so many people that go viral on TikTok and make a career out of like being an influencer for no reason or like for really really stupid reasons and phrases that they might have said that's gone viral, and you actually went viral really quickly like those people, but actually for a really good reason, to raise awareness and to answer questions that people are just genuinely curious about, because there's clearly not enough out there about blindness and about invisible disabilities. So you were clearly needed in the influencer industry. So I'm so glad that you rose to fame basically on TikTok.
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate it. Like people who don't necessarily like me, I've had arguments with, will be like, "Oh, you don't even do a proper job. Get a proper job." Um, and the job I'd be doing would be one-to-one psychological support for people. And what I've found is actually I've been able to reach infinitely more people and help infinitely more people than I ever would have if I was doing, a proper job. Um, and yeah, I'm very proud of the platform that I've built. I'm proud of the content that I've made, and the people that I've reached. And hopefully it never stops. But yeah, it does frustrate me when you see, for example, the Hawk Tour girl who now has like podcast unbelievable brand deals because she said something silly on the street, and actually
Mm.
there's no substance to it. Like, it's not. And I think this is another thing. You don't have to change the world. You don't if you're disabled, you don't have to be a disability advocate. If you're part of the LGBT community, you don't have to be an advocate for that. You can just live your life, be a personality. That's absolutely fine. But it does frustrate me when someone does something minimal and gets maximum rewards from it.
Right, I had the Hawk Tour girl in mind when I said that.
I think everyone does.
Just crazy that she now has like a career and a podcast and everyone knows who she is for literally nothing. And it just, like people work really hard to start podcasts and to maybe build an online presence, but they're not going to go very far. But now you just need to go viral for something really stupid.
Yeah, just literally, yeah. Say something vulgar on the street when you're drunk and
Literally.
you're golden.
Oh, that would scar me for life. Not give me a career. It would actually scar me.
I can't.
But
Yeah,
anyway,
I'd actually love to ask her how she feels about being known for something like that. Because yeah, like you're
yeah.
saying, like I'm known for being blind. I'm happy with that. I would
Mm.
not want to be known for screaming "Hoctor" in a mouth.
Absolutely not. But like, it looks like she's proud of it. Like her dad wears a cap with Hoctor on it. Like my parents would disown me. But there we go. Here we are, still grinding.
We'll keep going.
Yeah, we'll keep going. So tell me a bit about the content you make, because I think that's how I found you. I think on Instagram, and your content is very much the kind of stuff I want to see about disabled people in the industry. I don't like sob stories. I don't like, inspirational videos and all the comments are like, you're such an inspiration. I like being real. I like people smashing common misconceptions,
Yeah.
I like comedy. I like making fun of your disability. So tell me a bit about that.
I think the first thing to say is, like, I'm just an average person, and most disabled people are just average people. We're not superheroes, and we're not, like you say, sub stories. The content I make reflects that, I think, and it just reflects the daily life of what being blind and disabled is. So some of it can be story times about experiences I've had, and some of them can be funny, some of them can be more for awareness based. There's educational videos where I'm answering questions, or there's videos where I'm just outright taking the piss out of myself. And yeah, I think that's why I've built a following, is because I am just myself on camera. I'm not trying to make people feel sorry for me. I'm not trying to prove that I'm this incredible human being. I'm just like the lad next door who happens to be blind, and people have resonated with that, I think.
That's just so refreshing, because I know a lot of content online can be filtered and, people can be as fake as they want on there. But yeah, I think something that people can relate to is that you are literally just your average guy, but you do have a lot, some really good humor. So you have to give yourself some credit for that.
Yeah, I do try. I mean, disability humour is one of the best out there. And to be fair, the best way to have an open conversation with someone, or to make someone open to having a conversation about an important topic, is by making them laugh, is how I've found that. So if I can make people giggle and want to watch more, and make them open to listening, and then feed them some educational content, I found that that makes the world of difference. And also, it's just fun to laugh. Like, I don't want my page just to be, oh, I'm blind, how do I make a cup of coffee? I'm blind, how do I open a packet of crisps? Like, I want people to look at me as a bit of a clown, because I'm a bit of a clown.
Yeah, exactly. And I have to give your partner some credit as well. She's really funny and she makes some appearances on your page as well. And I like that you kind of role reverse as well. Like you make her do some things blindfolded. That's hilarious to watch as well.
Yeah, she's brilliant, and we work together on the content. Anything that we earn from social media, or like anything I do outside of it as a result of social media, we split, and we're very much a team. And yeah, I'm very, very lucky, because she's not just hopped on board with what we're doing with the media stuff, but in terms of me as a disabled person, she's never even batted an eyelid about like how we need to live to make things work. So yeah, she's an angel.
That's amazing. And I'm so happy for you, because yeah, you do get those people that only see you for your disability, but the best kind of relationship to be in is someone that doesn't even consider that as a factor.
That's what I've found now, actually, is the biggest part of awareness I'm trying to spread. I feel like I've done a lot on like access and employment, and telling my story and how we can change a society. I've done a lot about that. The one thing now that I'd like to really, really try and hammer home is, don't take people with disabilities off your menu for dating.
Yeah.
Explore all your options. Don't just shut people down. And that doesn't just go for disability, that goes for any one minority, but to any life situation. Just always keep your options open, because I always say, like, a person that you wouldn't like look twice at because they're in a certain situation might be the person who's absolutely right for you. So yeah, that's probably my main goal at the minute, is that message.
That's very, very important message, because I've also seen other people with disabilities saying that when they were dating, they used to, never even factor disabled people into their radar, because they were like, well, I've got a disability, so I can't.
Mm.
But then, they find the love of their life and they're also, disabled as well, which is just nice to share. And it's nice to see that, you can coexist with someone who's got disability, even if you're disabled, if you're not disabled. Yeah, they're not, different a different breed that you kind of have to look after like a pet or something. Like they're literally just another human being that want love as well.
Yeah, and it would take some adaptations and some learning. And most people, I think, are actually willing to do that. They just don't know it. And it's a lot easier living with someone with a disability than you'd think. It's not a complete lifestyle change. Of course, there are some disabilities that are more severe, and there's more adaptations and more things to consider. But across the general range of people with disabilities, it's just an additional part of our lives that we don't, it's not like we're sat there thinking about it all the time, so there's no reason why you should have to as well.
Exactly, exactly. I want to move on to talk about your football experiences. Obviously, you're quite big on sports, you're a big football fan, and you're a player for England. How long have you been playing football, and what's it been like for you?
So I've only been playing blind football now for about 2.5 years, and I've actually been injured for about half of that time, so I've probably been playing about a year and a half. Um, I always loved football growing up. I was quite good at football as well. So when I stopped playing because of my sight loss, I was gutted, and actually that was one of the things I had to grieve the most. And then, yeah, I didn't play football for a good 7, 8 years. Randomly, one of the England players in the blind squad lived about 20 minutes down the road from me, saw my social media stuff, and was like, come and give it a go. And I did, and I was terrible, like really, really bad, because it's such a hard sport to play. And I just kept going back, I think, for the love of football, and gradually improved, and got pushed through the pathways for like talent development and all of that kind of stuff. And now, I sit in the senior squad at the minute, although I am actually taking a slight step back just because the schedule is so hectic, and my current like position on where I am with my own schedule doesn't quite align with it. So taking a step back slightly from being a full-time senior player, but I still get all the kind of perks that an England player would.
That's great. Yeah, and all the perks with no work.
I still have to train. I promise. I swear, if my coach is watching, that's where I am training. We are going to America in just over a week now. I think, yeah, early November. So we're off to San Diego for about 12 days. And then at the end of November, we're off to Greece as well. So I'm always traveling.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, you seem to be everywhere, but I love that for you. That's so exciting. You also love darts as well. I can see you've got darts board. And I do as well. It's got shutters on right now, but my boyfriend loves darts and he's actually got me into it by installing a dartboard in our home. So
Has to be done. I love my
yeah.
darts. I think people, when I say I like darts, I can imagine their face being a bit slack-jawed, like eyes wide, like, what do you mean? But no, I love my darts. I love watching it. I love playing it. It's a really social thing. It's a sport that you can play without like physically exerting yourself too much as well, which is nice. And if you feel a dartboard, it's completely tactile, and I can figure out what scores I've got and what I need just based on feeling it, which is actually amazing when you think about it. I love my darts. It's probably don't tell my coaches, but it's probably my favourite sport.
Okay, I won't tell anyone. Don't worry. I am going to put myself in the shoes of someone who's very ignorant and doesn't know anything about invisible disabilities or blindness, just because I know that you do a lot of these kind of videos on social media. But tell us how you play football or how you play darts as a blind man.
Yeah, so blind football at its core is just football. It's lads kicking a ball about, or not just lads, anybody kicking a ball about, and trying to score a goal. It's a five-a-side game. You've got a sighted goalkeeper and four outfield blind players. The ball's got ball bearings inside of it, which rattle, which is how we can like locate it. There are boards that run down the side of a pitch, which one, keep the ball in play, so there's not like constant throw-ins and stuff, and two, the sound echoes off of the boards, and you can kind of identify where you are on the pitch based on the echo. And then for scoring goals and stuff like that, you've got a coach behind the goal who will guide you in, and give you information about where the space is and how many defenders you have to beat, and where the best place to dribble is. You'd think, based on like how I describe it, you think it's quite a slow sport and not very technical, but the pace of it's ridiculous. The speed that we go at is crazy, and there's the most physical sport I've ever played as well. It's more like rugby in that sense. Lots of collisions, lots of big tackles and stuff. So yeah, great sport. And if you ever get the chance to watch it, then go for it. Darts isn't necessarily a blind sport. It's just kind of something that I've learned how to do. There's no like blind dart federation, although I'm going to try and get one going. But I just feel the dartboard where it is and like orientate myself, I guess, when I stand about 6 feet away instead of 8 feet away. And yeah, follow where I've just kind of put my hand to try and score.
Wow.
So yeah, it's nothing crazy, and it's literally it is darts. There's not really any adaptation to it other than standing a little bit closer.
Yeah, I'm sure. But blind football sounds so intense and it sounds so difficult. So can't imagine, how long it must have taken to get training. And you've already been playing mainstream football, so to have to adapt to blind football, I'm sure must have been so difficult. But that sounds like such a cool sport.
Yeah, it is. Like I said, well, you just said it's really intense. It's you have to be so technically astute with what you're doing. You have to be good with your communication. It's mentally so draining. Like I come off the pitch with a headache sometimes because you're thinking and listening so much. So yeah, it's the ultimate
Yeah.
sport really, where you've got to be physically, technically amazing, but also like have quite a high sporting IQ to be able to be good at it.
Yeah, and I guess you have to rely a lot on your other senses, like hearing, I'm sure, is like one of the main things that helps you through it.
Yeah, well, you've got to obviously listen to the ball, listen to your guides, so your goalkeeper and the guide behind the goal, your teammates, listen to where the opposition are to obviously not get tackled or just pass the ball straight to them.
Wow.
I mean, obviously, you've got to be thinking mentally about what you're doing technically. Like, it's not second nature to dribble without seeing. Like, we rely so much on sight. So when you take that away, like the cognitive element to it is massive.
Wow, that sounds so interesting. I'm actually learning so much here, and it's, yeah, really cool. Definitely going to have to give it a watch now, because now that I kind of understand the logistics of it, I'm really keen to give that a watch and just like see how it all pans out.
Yeah,
Like, that's
the
so interesting.
Paralympics were on obviously in 2024, and Channel 4 had all
Mm.
the live streams of all of the sports. So I think if you go on YouTube, you can watch a lot of the Paralympic games, which is obviously the highest level of blind football that you can watch. So yeah, definitely worth a
Do
look.
you think you'd ever enter yourself into the Paralympics?
Well, I could have been there this year if we'd qualified, but unfortunately our rank in the world wasn't quite high enough.
Oh,
So next up, we've got 2028, which is in LA, which is better than Paris anyway, let's be real. So yeah, we're obviously aiming for that. We've got the Euros and the World Cup before then, so they're obviously going to be our testers at where we are as a team.
yeah.
Yeah, always aiming for the Paralympics.
Wow, that's so exciting. Well, you've got quite a busy few years ahead of you.
Don't
Is it stressing you out just thinking about it?
I just want to go to bed. Please let me go to bed.
Oh dear. Do you find it a bit overwhelming, like the life that you're suddenly into? Always having to travel and to, do all these different things. Obviously this is your main job now. Do you find it overwhelming sometimes?
Yeah, you can do like there's weeks like this week where I've been in London on Monday for podcasting and working. That took all day. That's 2 hours travel there and back as well. Yesterday I was in kind of like the Surrey, East Sussex area on a podcast, and that took hours, and that was travelling as well. Today, obviously, this is easier because I'm at home, but I'm still one having to be charismatic and two talking articulately about quite a sensitive topic. So that's quite draining sometimes. And then I'm off to London for the rest of the day. And then tomorrow's a training day. And then Friday I'm off to England camp for the weekend, which is in Derby. So about a
Wow.
5 hour train journey. So yeah,
Oh
these
my
weeks
goodness.
get really tiring. So I try and limit them as much as possible, but sometimes you can't avoid it.
Sometimes, it's better to just cram it all into 1 week and then just have like a week off or something.
Yeah, I'll be on Sunday. The Premier League's on and Chelsea are playing, and then there's a big game. It's Arsenal Liverpool, yeah, later on. So I'll let myself have a few beers and just sit on my sofa all day. I think
I think you deserve that.
I might not even get dressed. I might just sit there in my boxes all
Oh,
day.
please don't. Just, yeah,
Please
the
don't.
most minimal effort, please. Yeah, that sounds like an intense week, but you're welcome for not having to travel all the way to Cardiff. I wouldn't have
Thank
forced
you.
you to do that.
Do you know what I was going to say to you, because I do go over to Hereford a fair bit for some training and fixtures because they've got the blind college over there, so they've got good sport facilities. And I go into Newport a lot of the time. I think we spoke about this before. So I was going to say to you, if you ever want me to come and do it in person, we could coordinate it like that. And then I did have a thought. I was like, I can't keep doing this, Tobes. You got to stop.
That would be the people pleaser in me, being like, if you want that, like, I'm happy to do that, even if it puts me through hell and back, like, I will do that for you because I'm a people pleaser. But I'm glad you didn't say that, because that's one good thing about doing this podcast. I can interview people from all around the world from my own home, so
Exactly.
don't worry about that at all.
I've done you a favour, actually. Let's be
You
real.
actually
I've
have.
been in your house.
Yeah, you're keeping me in, and I'm keeping you in for now until you have to move off to London again. Does Nat go everywhere with you?
No.
Okay.
So we've got a little cocker collie, Lila, who obviously needs looking after. We don't have like a regular dog sitter, so Nat will quite often stay at home, and I'll go and meet my manager if it's something that needs quite like a professional outlook, like I don't know, like a filming day with a brand or something. But a lot of the time I will just go by myself and meet whoever I'm needing to meet, wherever I need to meet them. So, this is actually boosted my independence so much because I'm self-employed. No one else is going to do it for me. I've gone all around the UK by myself, staying in hotels, meeting people, traveling, doing my job, earning money and supporting myself. And if you told me that 5 years ago, I wouldn't have believed you.
The growth is insane. Well done.
Thank you so much.
And you're also maybe smashing the stereotype that blind people can't be independent as well.
Yeah, and I when I was younger and losing my sight, I believed that stereotype. And I thought I was just destined to be looked after for the rest of my life. So it is nice to not only exemplify to other people that blind people can be independent, but even for myself, it's almost, proving myself wrong. And, I do sit back sometimes and I'm really proud about where I've gotten to. I don't give myself much credit at all. I'm quite a stern person. I'm always looking to improve and, a bit hard on myself when I make a mistake. But when you do take a step back objectively, like, it is kind of crazy where I'm at now.
Yeah, you should be really, really proud of yourself. Like, one could easily just hide and not want to leave their room, not want to leave their house and just protect themselves. But you're really putting yourself out there, but only great things are coming from that. So, yeah. Okay, so what's next for BlindTobes? What does the future hold?
I need my own TV show. That's what I need.
You do?
I think I deserve my own TV show, personally.
Yes. If Hawk to a Girl can get a podcast, BlindTobes can get a TV show.
I'd love it. I love talking to people. I'd love to do my own podcast because I talk about myself a lot and I can do that. That's fine. I do love myself a little bit too much, but I'd love to talk to other people and get to know other people's stories and have a platform where I can share that. What I'd love, and I'm trying to get this pitched at the minute, is doing a series, whether that's with BBC, Channel 4, ITV, whatever, on disability sports, where I go and just try loads of different sports and make myself look like an idiot, but also showcase how good disability sport can be. So that's what I'd love to do.
That would be so good. And if that could be out in time for the next Olympics and Paralympics, I feel like that would maybe get people to want to watch the Paralympics more.
Yeah.
I don't know.
100%.
Just like showcasing it. That's such a good idea.
That's
well,
like
I'm rooting for you.
Dream.
I'll be the first listener. I'll be the first watcher.
You're an angel. Otherwise, we just keep doing what we're doing. Keep trying to grow gradually. Whether that's continuing to spread the message or just continuing to support myself and be consistent as an adult. I don't have any crazy goals for the next year or so.
Well, you have already got so much on your plate, so please don't push yourself too much. That's something I tend to do a lot. Like, I just say yes to everything and then realise that actually I can't conquer the world. Yeah. That's something I'm trying to work on.
No, just like conquer it bit by bit. That's what we need to do.
Yeah, exactly. And like you, I love meeting other people. So any opportunity I get to do something, I'm like, yeah, absolutely. But then sometimes, you do need to look after yourself and take a bit of a break.
Yes. I think that's probably my goal for the next year, is to actually acknowledge when I need to take a little step back and say, all right, mate, just go and have a bath. Go and have a bath.
Yeah.
Go and have a beer in a bath.
That sounds perfect.
Yeah, it does.
Or just, have a day where you just watch football all day and nothing else.
Sounds like a dream. I'm going to do it on this Sunday. That's the thing. I just need to get through these next 4 days, and then Sunday, I'm not doing anything.
I'm so excited for you. To finish off the podcast, I would like to ask a question that I ask all my interviewees, which is there a piece of advice you would give to your younger self, maybe going through the beginning of those changes, or maybe someone else that's in your position?
I would probably say don't try and force yourself to be happy. Like, embrace the emotions that you've got. If we're talking to someone who's got a disability or just a life experience that's, really grinding on them, embrace the emotions that you've got and try and figure out an action plan to where you can make yourself happy and to where that's sustainable and where you're comfortable. But you don't have to be an A-star person all the time.
I like that. Yeah, just keep it real and don't pretend for anyone.
Yeah, exactly.
I really like that. Yeah, I feel like we could keep talking for hours, but I should probably wrap this up.
Honestly, like I can natter all day long. And actually, what you do with podcasts is I've been the same. As you get a set of questions through, and you're like, okay, we're going to talk through this, and this, and it goes down avenues you don't know. And actually, the content is so valuable, and I'm sure that this conversation will resonate and hopefully help a lot of people who are potentially struggling or just a bit unsure of themselves.
Definitely. Maybe in the future we'll do a part 2 in person, but when we're both actually at a normal place in our lives. I don't know if that will ever be a thing.
No, that sounds good to me. I'll just make sure that I'm going over to Cardiff. I don't think I'm coming over to Wales just for it.
I mean, if you're going to make your way to Newport, you may as well go somewhere nice, you know exactly.
What I mean? Get me out of Newport as soon as possible.
Well, thank you so much, Toby, for taking your time before your busy week to come on to Unbalanced. I really, really enjoyed our chat today.
Me too.
Thank you so much to you guys for listening as well. Don't forget to give Unbalanced a follow and a 5-star review. Thank you so much to Cure LGMD2I for sponsoring this podcast. I will be back with you very soon in another couple weeks with another episode. But until then, bye.
Bye, guys.